What's going on? What's going on? It is Monday night. Y'all know what time it is. We got another episode of the Reentry Journey. I'm your host, Cardell Sims, and tonight our guest is a Mr. Michael Hirschman, Track Tech LLC CEO. For those of you that don't know what Track Tech is, I will advise you to pay attention this episode. I did my research earlier this week on the company. And man, this is a new wave, new future of technology and helping reduce recidivism, helping to smooth the transition back into the community on both sides of the field. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Michael Hirschman. Tell us about yourself.
Good evening, Cardell. Thank you, and I appreciate being a part of your mission. I've done a little research on you too, and you're doing it. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
So yeah, you know, I got into this field back in 2012. I was actually working with some high risk sex offender population in the Denver metro area, and that's how this all started. And quite honestly, it was coming to the realization that people were really kind of stuck in the system. And so what had happened was, I've got a background in law enforcement and engineering, military intelligence officer in the Army, and I brought all of my background together, and we tried to solve the problem and created a solution that's technology using smartphones. So that's kind of how it started.
Right. So you say you've been doing this since 2012. What was it like making that transition from the field that you was into now you're getting in the technology field? Like you say you was in law enforcement. Like them are like two totally different fields.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of law enforcement, you're there as a peace officer, right? Our goal is to try and keep the peace and enforce the laws. We've got legislators and everybody else to go make the laws. And coming in on the more the probation parole side of things, and we were working as a commercial company, and what I found is that the offender population, and so I got to tell you this too, because Track Tech has a lot of personal meaning for us. So when we started this, there's the labeling, right? Offender name, offender city, offender address, all this different stuff. And we realized that once you start labeling somebody, it really just kind of busts your ego and where you're going. So we changed all of that, and we started to use the term program member. And so no longer were we dealing with offenders, we were dealing with program members. And
Right.
we put this solution together, and actually probation and parole loved it. But what surprised me was I had our clients, our program members, coming to me asking to be put on the system. And I'm like, what, you want on this system? Why? And they're like, we want to be able to prove to our probation officer that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And I was like, wow, who would have thought? And the problem is that people get in the system and they're immediately doing the wrong thing. That's what everybody thinks. And so our technology allowed for truth to be shown. And so if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, the probation parole officer knows that. And if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, then the probation parole officer's got the ability to help them to do what they're supposed to be doing. And so that's really kind of how this all started.
Right. So when you first started, what were some of the challenges that you were facing in building the app and getting it to the probation and parole?
Yeah, so the biggest problem that we had right off the bat was, unfortunately, the population that we were working with were not allowed to have smartphones because they couldn't get to the internet. They couldn't have cameras because they might take a picture of something they weren't supposed to take. So they had all these limitations, but yet the probation parole officer wanted them to be able to get a job. They wanted them to find housing. They wanted them to do all these things. Well, you can't do that with classified ads these days. Everything's on the internet. So what we did was we provided a corporate-owned smartphone that we controlled 6 ways to Sunday. The program member could not turn the phone off. They couldn't upload their own software. They couldn't do anything to it. It was completely biometrically controlled to the person that we issued it to. And so what that allowed us to do is just turn the camera off and to be able to filter out the internet content that they weren't supposed to be at, but give them the resources to help them be successful. And so it was really powerful.
Right. And so, for those that's tuning in and they hearing us talking about it, explain to the people exactly what the app and of Track Tech does. Explain exactly what Track Tech does.
Sure. And let me, for those that are just joining us, be really clear. Track Tech to us has duality in meaning. Most people hear Track Tech and they think, oh, you're going to track somebody. And that's true. We can do the tracking for compliance monitoring, but our goal is to put people on the right track and to help them go in the right direction. So if you go to our website at TrackTechLLC.com, it's TrackTechLLC.com, you'll see our logo. And that logo means a lot to us. The A is what we call the Tower Road logo. So the horizontal blue line represents the signals, coming off of a radio tower for more that compliance monitoring. And the vertical blue line is that center line of the road. How can we keep them on track or help them get on track? And together it forms a T, which is for truth.
And I never really I never understood that. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
All right, because it looked like I'm froze. But yeah, I never noticed that when I was checking in the website.
Yeah, that means a lot to us.
Okay. And so can you go in detail about the different structures of the app?
Yeah, so actually, Cardell, there's a couple products that we offer. One is the app, which we call Track Phone Lite, and then there's the Track Phone. So I mentioned how the Track Phone is a corporate-owned device that we control so that we can provide that person a biometrically secured. We make sure that they've got all the privacy, meets all the CGIS compliance and FIPS compliance, all of that. And then the app is a lighter touch application that can go on, they call it BYOD, bring your own device. So you can put it on your Android phone or your iPhone and just download it. And then it allows for really cool features. So especially during the pandemic, right? Officers could not go out into the public and meet with their clients. So how do you communicate with somebody? Well, with our system, you can do a video teleconference, kind of like you and I here looking at each other. We could be having a conversation and I could ask you, hey, Cardell, how are things going? And it's that personal communication that you have right over our system. You could even do like home visits. One of the things that's kind of important that a probation officer does when they go out into the community is check the refrigerator, make sure you got food. If you got stuff in the cabinet, show me around your apartment or your house. And so they could do all of that through our system. I can't hear you. But it's okay, Cardell. So right now, if anybody's there, now I can hear you. I was about to take over the host of the show as well.
Right. So what about those? I see in the app there are many different um sections to the app. You have, why is this app? Most people get out, they get they provide the ankle monitor, right? What?
Yeah. So Cardell, what we do, there's 9.3 million people who are on some form of community supervision in the United States alone. We've got pretrial release, diversion courts, probation, parole. Out of that 9.3 million people, there's only about 250,000 people who are on an ankle monitor. So it's a really small population. And the issue that we see with ankle monitors is there's a lot of stigma. And I know this because I wore one. I didn't have to, but I chose to wear one for over 2 weeks. And I have a fellow military buddy of mine who was coming back from Afghanistan, and I went out to the Denver International Airport, and I had his 2 kids with me, and I'm wearing this ankle monitor. I didn't plan on it this way, but that's how it worked out. And I'm sitting with 2 kids in the terminal trying to pull my pant leg down because the ankle monitor keeps showing. It is, I mean, it's just crushing. And so with the app or the smartphone approach, there's no stigma. And we can still provide all the same information that the dot on the map does for an ankle monitor. But our goal is really to provide the resources. And you're right, there are different sections in the app that give you behavioral resources, right? Cognitive behavioral therapy. We can give you life skills. We can give you access to housing, food banks, what we call our support core. The ability to have support and accountability while you're going through community supervision is huge. People need that. Froze up on me again, Cordell. So I'm not sure if Cordell is on.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me still?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I will let you take over for a little bit while adjust these technical difficulties.
All right. So you want me to continue telling them about the system and why we're doing this?
Yes.
Okay, I can do that. So I'm going to play host as well. I'll ask myself some questions. So, so actually, you know, I think it's really important to recognize that we're in an industry right now where for decades, all we have really had is the ankle monitor for technology. And it costs about $182 billion a year for taxpayers in the criminal justice system. And we're really not fixing anything. We're not correcting the problem. It's not until people recognize the issues that got them there in the first place. It's all about choices. Good choices, good consequences, bad choices, bad consequences. And so what we really want to do is we want to offer people the opportunity to learn how to make good choices. And so if we can do that through education of, you know, a thought process and maybe how to recognize the addiction issues and overcome addiction, we have a lot of functionality that we can add on. We've got what we call the marketplace that allows us to bring in resources from those who specialize in it. We're not a therapy company, but we have Dr. Lacey Berman on our team who is a therapist. And Lacey brings all of the things to the table that we need to do in order to be successful to help our program members. We've got an amazing team who really cares for people who are in the system. Scott Bemis is a man who goes out on a regular basis and goes to the prisons and works with people. We have an attorney out of DC who we're working with who really has a heart for trying to, you know, find the benefit in the justice reform approach and how we can promote helping people. Until we help people be better, we're not really being better ourselves. So that's really our goal, to use technology to leverage the power to get people walking in the right direction. And Cardell's still not on. So what would the next topic be? What is probably one of the best examples of our system in use? We've got a contract with the Colorado Division of Youth Services, and we also have leveraged the coaching and counseling functionality in our platform where we can have people who've kind of got the experience, been there and done that. And I'd like to tell the story about one of our coaches, Russ McKendry, who actually worked with one of our program members. And she, you know, this is a juvenile program member. And she had gone and had all kinds of struggles in her life. And Russ asked her, you know, hey, what is it that you want? And she didn't really know. And so he asked her, he said, it's kind of like going to the store and buying a pair of shoes. What kind of pair of shoes would you want? Well, I like tennis shoes. Well, how come? And she answered, you know, why she liked tennis shoes. And Russ was like, that's kind of like life. It's like choosing your boyfriend. You know, there's things that you like, go do it. And it was really impactful because this gal, unfortunately, had a really tough life. And she didn't have very good self-esteem, which is what tends to drive people into the dysfunction that gets them into the criminal justice system in the first place. And so Russ was asking her about what she would want in a boyfriend, because she was really big into finding, a mate. And so Russ then asked her, so what do you think a mate would want, in his mate? And it kind of forced her to think about how she was behaving in life and what she might need to do to be that perfect mate for somebody else. And it was just that interaction, having that coach there to be able to talk her through. And that really is kind of what we see our support core being, that ability for people to come to the table and walk alongside. We can't always solve all the problems, but if we have somebody there that we can lean on, and so that we're not going through it alone, and every once in a while, that person's going to have a tidbit that is really powerful and helpful for somebody to get through some things. There's a lot of function and features in the TrackTech platform. At the end of the day, we're here to help. And a lot of people think, oh, it's a company, they're only out for money. We're trying to change that philosophy as well. Yes, we are a company. We do need to, generate revenue and be successful. But our goal here is to help people. And when we can bring functionality like the video teleconferencing, like the cognitive behavioral therapy, the resources, when we can bring all of the power of, the therapeutic approach to the table, it's really powerful. Are you back, Cardell? I see you.
Can you see me?
I can even hear you.
Oh man, I apologize. I don't know what happened. First time it happened.
Well, you know what? I'm going to let your listeners know that for that period of time that you were off, I get your host pay.
I ain't mad at you.
Oh no, he just dropped off again. There you are.
Man. Can you hear me?
I can, you betcha.
All right. And hopefully everything is going right. So I'm sorry to say, but I kind of missed out on. Can you kind of pinpoint some of the things that you was talking about when I was off the grid, so to speak?
Not a problem, Cardell. I was doing my best to fill the time, and I was talking about some of the features. I talked about an example, real life example of one of our clients who used our platform. And there's another one with that too. I had talked about the coaching aspect of it, having somebody who's there to really support somebody going through the system. But our platform has got the ability to give insight as well into risk, right? And it's that understanding when somebody's behavior is starting to be something that, hey, maybe we need to know what's going on. Are they not talking to people? Are they all of a sudden talking to people they shouldn't be talking to, in a manner that they shouldn't? All of these things that kind of are keys, right? They're indicators. They're things that you look at that you can use to help somebody. And that's really what we can do with the technology.
And so for some people that's tuning in right now, they might say, I can see how this app, it helps and is essential to parole or probation. How is it essential for the people, the returning individuals?
Yep. So all of these returning individuals and the people in prison and the people who have never been in the criminal justice system are people. And that's who we care about. So effectively, we're setting this system up to help people. We're directing it right now towards those people who are re-entering into the community on probation or parole. And they need that support. They need that leg up. And a lot of times, so there's a story that was written here in the Denver area by an organization. I want to say it's Bob's story. And it's what happens on a day in and day out basis. Somebody gets out of prison, they're given $100 and they're told to go be successful, right? Well, how do you do that when you were never role modeled what success looks like or how to be successful? And so our goal is to give that person a path, to give them the right track, right? That's what we're all about, is putting people on the right track. So if they have our tool, they can reach out, they can ask questions. We give them information, we give them the resources to make those good decisions.
And through the app, when we know that there's a direct, I've seen that there's a direct line to probation or your parole officer.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a direct line to other, like, certain resources that a person may need?
Yes. And it's unfortunate that we have to have a direct line to suicide, prevention support, but it happens, right? People get depressed. They're like, I can't do this anymore. Matter of fact, we were at a conference years ago working with when we were working with the sex offender population, and we had somebody who was out in the community, former sex offender, who said he was going to commit a crime and go back to prison because it was easier. And that's just sad. We don't want that. We want people to have the resources to be able to call and get the support that they need.
And so when it started out just as sex offenders. So has it transitioned to all offenders that's coming out of prison, or I don't want to say offenders, but all returning citizens, returning individuals?
So the term, we're also big members of APPA. So this is my plug for APPA, the American Probation Parole Association, which, by the way, is having its conference going on right now this week. And the APPA, we're on the technology committee. Dr. Lacey Berman's on the research committee. They use the term JII, Justice Involved Individual. And that's really what we want to do. We want to get rid of the stigma of offender. We call them, as I said, program members. But those people returning, they're people, and we need to support them.
All right. So all of the program members, or that's coming home, or do you, like? I know it's hard when to get out to get a phone. You don't have. So do you all supply the phones?
So we can, and it depends on the agency that they're with, and how that agency wants the service to be rolled out. Right now, we are looking at how would we serve the program member directly, and then have the probation parole officer come in secondarily. We are currently going primarily to the probation parole officer and then the program member secondarily. Obviously, there is a criminal justice connection here where we have to have legal authority and the right to help this person and supervise them in the community. So I would love if you have people who are watching right now who are returning to the community and they would like to have this type of support. Go to our website at TrackTech LLC.com, TrackTech LLC.com. And there's a contact us link where you can tell us, hey, I would love to use this system. I work, or I'm part of this agency or whatever. Let us know what you want. We're here to serve.
Right. And so do you only focus on the probation parole in Denver, or are you set up to where you serve in many different agencies through different states?
We are effectively able to go global. We are currently about ready to deploy up in Canada as well. But we've been blessed. We've got a partnership with Cisco that we've had for about a year. And we just, as of the end of this last year, October, were elevated to their Solutions Plus partnership, which is just such a feather in our cap. I mean, we're so blessed to have been able to achieve that. And so now what that allows us is the help and the support of the Cisco team. And Cisco's got a lot of reach and really has a passion for their community outreach and helping people. They're into the connected justice. Great company.
Right. And so have you thought about what type of let's say programs or who you can connect with to start reaching out to those that are incarcerated that's on the way of coming home?
Yes. So we are partnered with another company that does a lot of prison type work, tablets and phone systems and the such. And so our plan is to, help somebody have continuity of service, right? You know, you've got something going on while you're incarcerated. We want to just continue that out. We're also doing virtual reality, VR systems, where we want to be able to help support the training and the experience, that education of somebody in. And if you've never done VR, try it. It's crazy. You know, there's a program that we tried where you're standing there wearing the VR goggles and you go up an elevator, and all of a sudden you turn around and the doors open in the screen. You're still standing on your kitchen floor, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to walk out on this plank, and it's like 100 stories up, and you're like, ah.
Yeah, I did a virtual reality. I went and spoke with a youth program here, and one of the things is virtual reality. So they had me put on the goggles, and it took me over to, like, you could pick and choose places where you want to go: Italy, Rome. Like, you can go to a lot of different places. And one of the things was it had you like an elevator going up, and then when you step out, it's like a big old cliff, and you like leaning over time.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
really do with the virtual reality with the goggles. You don't really. Sometimes you forget that you're actually just standing maybe in your kitchen or in that little room, because it's so realistic that, like, even just kind of like you want to look over the edge, you like to really just, like, you really bracing yourself, like you really on that edge. So I think that'd be a major plus. You said you was working with some of the companies inside that do the tablets. Some of the big companies that I know of, what both of these two companies, they are under one parent company, that is Securus and JPay.
Uh-huh.
JPay really focuses in on the tablets. Securus, they more of the phones and things of that nature. I think the parent company is called Aventive.
It is.
Yeah. I was just, so I was wondering, have you, because when I seen that was the first thing I think, like, that would be a good partnership or good, what I'm saying, thing to network with Aventive to possibly get the information in on their tablets in the inside. Because one thing about reentry, you must prepare for reentry from inside.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes about time for you to be released, you don't have to worry about that getting out and then trying to prepare yourself for this and this and that. You really want to try to be ahead of the game. I know with me, that's what made my reentry successful. And so I was wondering, like, with some of the programs or resources that you have on your app, will you be able to have them resources for those that are about to come home, so they can be able to see and locate certain resources in their area wherever they're getting out to?
Most definitely. And you know, Securus is an amazing company. We really appreciate them, and where we can go together.
Yeah.
And they are. I don't know if you know Dawn Freeman, who was part of the Securus Foundation. You know, they have a real heart for helping people, kind of like we do with our support core, and we have Needle North Foundation is the nonprofit that is around Track Tech as well. But bringing those resources in behind the walls and helping somebody see a path once they get outside is critically important, right? You don't just hop on a basketball court and start slamming down 30, 40 points, right? You got to practice. Right. And so it's kind of like practicing while you're inside.
Exactly. Yeah. Now I don't know my direct line to connect with Aventive is Jay Trombetta, who's I think she's the senior manager of marketing, maybe communications, or possibly, I'm not for sure. I've done some things with them as well. So when you were saying that, I was thinking like that would be a perfect thing to get with to help introduce this inside of the prisons as well. So what are some of the things? What are some of the good things that the program members say about the app in the system, and what are some of the bad things that the program members? Because I know coming out of prison, I know a lot of people don't want to be tracked in a sense. Tracked, that's the mentality, as a former criminal, former person that been in prison, I know a mentality that I used to have was, man, my PO's already the babysitter. I don't need something else tracking me down. So what, like I said, what are some of the good things that the program members have said about it? And what are some of the bad things that the program members have said about it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Cardell. And like I said, kind of at the beginning of the program, one great example is having the offender population come to you and say, I want to get on it to prove to my probation officer I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. We've got another guy, Ray Washington, who we work with here in Denver, another great guy. And Ray gave an example of somebody who was using a smartphone technology that was exonerated from a crime, because it showed where they were and who they were with. They had photos of them being, with other people. And so there's truth. The truth will set you free, right? Isn't that the saying? And that's really what we're looking to do. If somebody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, we'll be able to support that path. And one of the things that I say over and over again, people around me kind of probably get sick of hearing it, but behaviors, happen one after another and they form a character, right? You don't look behind you and see a jagged trail and expect somebody to trust you, right? It's those behaviors over time that give you a straight path. And that's what builds a character. And that's really what we're after is helping people to say, yeah, there might be some compliance monitoring, but I get to elevate myself through the program and I'll be off of this as long as I do what I'm supposed to be doing and recognize the goal here is not to hurt me, it's to help me. And you probably understand that the things that get most people into prison is the dysfunction, around respect and trusting and all of these things that, we start to judge others and we're selfish and so on and so forth. When we just kind of let go and surrender to doing it the right way and we trust people to help us, we need to be worthy of being helped. And that's really what we want is we want to send that message to people. Let us help you.
Right. And so can you talk a little bit about the on there it talks about your program member features. Can you talk a little bit about them features?
Sure. There's lots of them, and I've talked a lot about several of them. The ability to have a video call with your probation parole officer, so that you don't have to go to the office. It's probably one of the biggest ones, right? We've got so many people who have missed appointments because scheduling, couldn't get off work. It's a royal pain for somebody to have to leave.
Transportation.
Yes. And so when we can provide that ability to have a video teleconference connection, it eliminates that need. And oh, by the way, it saves the probation parole officers. It's a safety thing. It's paying for vehicles. It's the time to drive to and from places. Huge benefit just in that alone. And that's where our connection with Cisco is really strong around that WebEx, connected justice offering. There's also the ability to, a lot of times people have to go and they have to do a UA, urinalysis. And so again, they got to leave work, they got to find transportation. Oh, by the way, it's expensive. And so what if you offered the ability to have somebody do a test remotely? And now, as long as they're doing okay on the test, it's not a physical sample test, but a cognitive test that now says, you're within your measure. If all of a sudden, you got a test that's like off, now you go do the UA. But we can eliminate somebody having to go to do UAs all the time.
Right. Yeah. Some of the programs, like some people they in the program, like I know a program in Missouri, they have a one of the parole officers was telling me here in Missouri, they have a new program for high risk potential substance abuse. Mm-hmm. And one of the things is they have to do like 6 or 7 UAs, maybe like 9, I think they said, in a month.
A lot.
So if you got a job and you got to keep leaving work 2 or 3 times a week just to go take a UA, yeah, you might not have that job that much longer. You
Well,
know.
and let me dovetail off of that one too, Cardell. Jobs are important, right? Work. We all need to know how to work and be responsible. And nothing in life is really free. So if we can help encourage somebody to learn how to have a good work ethic, showing up on time, showing up ahead of time, is great. Showing up, day after day to go do your job. So with our system, we leverage gamification and the power to be able to influence people in a positive way. So now you show up to work, you get a message that says, "Hey, good job, Cardell. You've made it to work on time." Hey, Cardell, you made it to work, 5 days in a row. Great job. And where we really want to get to is the ability to incentivize people with, maybe a point system where you keep doing good things over and over again. Why can't your lawyer go back to the court and say, "Hey, you know what? My client Cardell has shown this great, progress. We'd really like to knock off some time off of his sentence."
Oh wow. Yeah, that would definitely be in handy, and it'd be of a major plus. So, in working with the probation and parole system, have you got any like negative uh feedback as far as implementing this system into their program?
Yeah, so some of the downfalls in technology is technology itself, right? There's a learning curve, and what we've really found, and it's kind of sad in a lot of ways, is the probation parole offices, they don't have the technical training, and not that this is all that difficult, right? But it's scary for somebody to. It's kind of like back in the day when mom and dad would have the kids program the VCR. It just is a different culture, and so now with technology, the dominant age group of officers is a little bit older and they're not as comfortable with the technology. And people who have been in prison for quite a long time and coming out, they're not as comfortable with the technology either. So that is one of the things that we have to make sure, and we do our best to provide online training, frequently asked questions, support, so that if there is any question that they've got that available.
Right. And so, what what would you say to the people that's getting out of prison? They still got this criminal mentality, and they think, man, I can bypass this, or I can get over. Like, it's always gonna try to find a way to beat the system. It's What would you say to them as far as like beating the system? Because I understand and I see that you not only everything you got, you also have biometric identity confirmation.
Mm-hmm. You know, we do have all of that, and let's face it. There are people who have that mindset and may never be able to get over it, and it's sad because there's so much life out there. And what we really want people to do is not try to game the system. Try and live your life. Find peace and joy, and just we all have to pay taxes. Are you going to game the taxes too? We all have to stop at a red light. Or are you going to run the red light because you don't want to play along with the rules? It comes down to, quite honestly, the person in the mirror, and that justice involved individual needs to talk to the person in the mirror and say, who do you really want to be? Who are you? And we want to help them be the best they can. So yes, from the biometric perspective, if somebody's got our track phone, that device is issued to them. Depending on how the probation parole officer sets it up, they may have to check in regularly, and it is by biometric. And if they don't comply with the terms and conditions, then there's consequences, right? Good consequences for good decisions, bad consequences for bad decisions.
Right. And so, talk about some of it says the automated rehabilitation resources. What are some of them resources?
Yeah, so I had mentioned the cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a great, got a lot of science behind it, and that really gets people to become aware, right? You know, there's a lot of unconscious decision making that goes on. We're programmed to behave in a certain way. When we can get to the place where we start to become aware of what we're thinking and how we're feeling, then we can start to become aware and decide what our behaviors are, and that's huge. There's the addiction issue, right? There are some physical things that go on around addiction, and one needs to kind of overcome that. We've made a great partnership with Breaking Free that allows for that addiction treatment to go on as you are aware with Securus while you're inside, and then right on the outside with us. And then even after you get off of community supervision, they allow another 12 months of service to help to continue, serving the person. So those are a couple of examples.
Right. Okay. And I think, me personally, I think this is a fantastic app. I would rather, if it came down to a choice to say either you can put an ankle bracelet on, or you can have this program, which one would it be? I would most definitely choose the program, just because you don't have to walk around with a bracelet on your ankle. Then not only that, you are connected to resources. You don't have to try to, if you have to leave work, just to go report. You got the video, the remote video meetings. I think that is a major plus, because so many people may not have I've seen a lot of people get violated because they miss their meetings, only because they didn't really have the transportation to get there, or they didn't want to leave their job. Like, man, you want me to leave work just to come and meet with you for 15 minutes, and it's really not really important, and it beats your PO showing up at your job. So I really think that the app, I think this program is really, like, is amazing. I was talking to someone about it earlier today, just telling them about it, and I'm like, it's a major plus, and it's a major step away from wearing a ankle monitor, and going through all that hassle, and even having to pay for that. So with this program, say I get out and have to be on the program. I remember one time I got out of prison and I had to wear the ankle monitor. I had to pay just to wear the ankle monitor. So does the program member has to pay in any kind of way for having this program?
Currently, no, Cardell. The way the industry has kind of gone is that they are having the agencies pay. Now, I will tell you, and this, I would love feedback from your listeners. So, please reach out to us and give us your thoughts on this. But I have a philosophical belief that what we need to do is we actually need to have the program member pay for some of their service. Research shows that if you're paying for your service, you're more likely to be a part of it and actually work to change, to make that positive change. And we're dealing with a system right now that the funding, while we spend, billions of dollars every year on this problem, it goes to paying for facilities, the prisons and the guards and the food and the medical and all of that. And it's not really helping people on community supervision. If people looked into it, the community supervision budget is really, really tiny. And so we're running into the issue where we can't roll out this really great system to help people because the agencies don't have the funding for it. And so it is my belief that if we were to, kind of turn that around a little bit and provide the program member the opportunity to have this, and let them go ahead and pay for it. This is so inexpensive, but yet gives them such powerful benefit. I mean, we're talking less than $20 a month for the ability to have this communication and not have to leave work. We're talking about this ability to have these resources right at your fingertips. We're talking about the ability to, at the push of a button, have a conference with somebody and get information that's critically important. Why these agencies can't come up with the funding for this to help people, it's a shame, but it is a fact.
And is that one of the biggest uh, obstacles that you face, is getting the agency to come up with the fundings for it?
It is. It really is. We talk to officers daily, and we get such positive feedback on the approach and where we're going, and they just don't have the money to put it into play.
Right. And you would think that their budget will expand because will increase, because here lately the talk has been, focusing more on community supervision. I mean, you hear that talk all the time, decreasing the prison population or other means, as far as instead of incarceration, what can we do? Like some people
Mhm.
say, oh, we put them on a house arrest or home confinement. So you got a lot of things that's geared towards that way. So you would think that they would increase the budget on that, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Have you ever thought about getting with like implementing into like the court systems? Like I said, some people, they try to find an alternative means into incarceration, which means community supervision. So
Mhm.
you have programs like the drug court program and things of that nature, that instead of going and being locked up, you take this program and for 18 months. And if you successfully complete this program, then you won't go to prison. You get
Mhm.
probation or whatever. Have you thought about, what I'm saying, possibly getting with the court system as and using this app as another way, or this program as another program for community supervision and an alternative method to instead of incarceration?
Definitely. So we have reached out and worked with many diversion courts right here in our own backyard. The Colorado 18th Judicial District is one of our clients, and the ability to have another tool in the tool belt of opportunity for the person is huge. I actually, I'm, as I had mentioned earlier in the show, am a military intelligence officer in the Army, or former. And so I actually got involved as a mentor for the Veterans Treatment Court. And, it's so powerful to be able to offer, these people in the diversionary court an opportunity to make better decisions and not burden down the regular court system uh, with what is typically going on there. So yeah, diversionary courts are amazing. Drug courts.
Yeah, right. And so, where do you see um Track Tech in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years?
If I could wave my magic wand, I would love everybody to use Track Tech and us be out of business because we've helped everybody get back into the community and they don't need us anymore. That'd
Right,
be awesome.
right.
But realistically, Cardell, in the next 2 to 3 years, the American Probation Parole Association and agencies across the country are recognizing that technology is the new way to go. Leveraging smartphone apps, and there's been even a more important shift, and that is helping the offender population, helping them to be more successful, because it's the recidivism that's really the problem, right? It's that rate of reoffense, which is recidivism, and typically 50% or higher, usually kind of in that 70 to 80%, which means more than one out of every two people are going right back to jail. So if we don't change the way they think and behave, they're coming right back. So we have to help them.
Right. And by you saying that, what is it that, I know we discussed a lot of things that your app does. What does it do to address what you just said, the way they act and behave?
Yeah. So I think probably, the biggest thing there is treating them like a human, for starters, right? We give them a phone or a phone app rather than ankle monitor. We give
Right.
them, we give them the respect. And with respect comes responsibility too, right? It's like if mom gives you $1 and now you got to go out and spend it in the right way. mom's pretty happy when you spend it in the right way. And what we need to do is we need to kind of shift the thinking, to treat people well so that they behave well. And let's give them the tools like the cognitive behavioral therapy, the addiction treatment tools. Let's give them the coaching and the counseling that they need. Let's give them the positive affirmation for doing the things that they're supposed to do. We're basically raising adults, right?
Right.
Kids get raised in the right way. They become good adults. And unfortunately, when kids are not raised with the best of circumstances, they don't necessarily have the tools because they were never given them.
Right. True indeed. And have you tried implementing the program like on a federal level, like with the federal probation system?
So I will say that we have demoed with U.S. courts and had conversations with the Bureau of Prisons and states across the country. So yes.
Right. So yeah, man. Like I said before, man. Like I really like the process. I really like the program. It's so much different. It's up to date. It's current with what's going on today. And then, like you said, it makes you feel more of a human, that you're not walking around with a ankle monitor on you, or a big old ankle monitor on your leg while you at work. You got this big old ankle monitor on your leg, or if you go to your children's basketball game or sporting event, you got this big old monitor box on your leg, and the whole world knows like, you've been in some trouble. I think that's the program that you have is much better than that there. I'm surprised. I ain't gonna say surprised, but I would figure that they would make more room in the budget for this program. Not only is it better for the offender, but it relieves a lot of stress from the actual agencies. Like being a parole officer, and you got 40 people on your caseload that you have to deal with every day or every other day. I think this program would be much help, so that you ain't got to be worried about people coming in back to back to back. Like you got this access to them outside of your office, and what I'm saying, to check in with them and everything else. What's next for Track Tech?
Well, so we are always continuing to advance the technology. Technology changes daily, and so we're always, on that hamster wheel. But we're really looking for what the end user needs. What does our program member want? How can we be better? How can we more positively impact the world?
Right. Me personally, I think the thing that could help is if how you was talking about how you got the encouraging, like you can encourage people to, hey, you've been to work these many days of work, good job. Maybe like daily, like morning videos or something like that to reach out to the members, or things of that nature, just like some motivation, or or things of that nature, because sometimes people wake up, not just not just the program members, just people in general wake up and they have bad days. They just, things just ain't working for them, or they just don't feel like they gonna make it through the day. Like you said, you talked about the mental health and the suicide, and we seeing that a lot more, like in today's society, especially the returning individuals, your program members just coming out, and they been incarcerated for a long time, and now they're out, and technology, they just can't get in the groove of technology. It's overwhelming. Like you said, they like, hey man, I'm about ready to go back. And if it's not about ready to go back, it's more of suicide or things of that nature. And so, if my one thing I would say is to have, like a daily encouragement. Just, they get on there in the morning, hey, you got a message pops up, hey, they open it up, whether it's a video, whether it's a, what I'm saying, a typed up message or whatever, but something encouraging, what I'm saying, every day that they can, wake up to, and just give them some sense of hope.
You know what, Cardell? I like that. We currently have got our system set up so that it's able to do that, but we're kind of letting the agencies drive that train. And here in Colorado, I don't know if it's cross country or not, but we've got this thing that pops up on the news called the Human Grace Project. And guy talks about a topic, and it's just uplifting, and it gives you something to think about. I'm going to go check into that and see if we can't maybe have that short video pushed out to our system.
Yeah. I mean, if you need somebody to make the videos, no problem. I'm a content creator. We have a couple people that on the Facebook. They said they have some ideas for you. How can they bring them ideas to you? Get them ideas to you.
So probably the best way is going to our website, TrackTech LLC.com, TrackTech LLC.com, and there's a link there to contact us.
And that's TrackTechLLC.com, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna put that in the comments. I'm typing it in the comments right now, so people can get the link. And that's the way of those of you that tuning in right now and they're saying that you have some ideas. All you got to do, I posted the website on the comments, so all you have to do is click on there, and it has a contact. It's through the contact us section, or through the contact us section, and then you'll be able to share your ideas. I think this is the future of. I believe that this is the future of supervision. I mean, I wouldn't see why it's not like this. This is where supervision needs to go. I think it relieves the burden on everybody around the board. Especially with the numbers of people in prison, people on probation or parole. Mm-hmm. You might see a decline sometimes. You might see it rise sometimes, but here over the past 10, 15 years has been around a steady number. So we're talking close in between 8 to 10 million people every year, a year that are on this. So any last words that you would like to say, to the people that's tuning in and that you want to put out there?
I would like to say that everybody take a look at the host here who has, walked the walk. Cardell, kudos to you. You didn't let it overcome you. You didn't let that identity of being a former, inmate guide your life. And we need people to really grab a hold of that and recognize that they can become just about anything they want. They have to, do some work. It's not easy. I know it probably wasn't easy for you, but man, look at here. You're hosting a video podcast, and you're doing really well for your life. And that's fantastic. And I want other people to know that they can do that too.
All right. Well, we'd like to thank you for being a guest on the reentry journey. What we covered tonight is very crucial in as far as the reentry journey. Like, this is the reentry journey. Having something that you can get access to resources, that way you don't have to just go and do a physical visitation with your parole officer, whenever they come in. You might be at work. You might not have the transportation. Like, I think the app, like I said before, is amazing and wonderful. I'm hoping that all these agencies find room in their budget to implement this program. It's a much needed program. I appreciate you coming on, telling us more about your program. Outside of Track Tech LLC, is there any other place where the people can find you?
APPA, again, another plug on the technology committee. We've got our conference going on right now. Get plugged into the APPA, and that's a great place to help influence the industry.
All right. And for those of you that are on Instagram, you can follow Track Tech on Instagram as well. They have an Instagram page as well, so you can follow them at Track Tech LLC. Once again, thanks again, Michael, for tuning in with us, talking to us about Track Tech and the potential of Track Tech and what it does. We appreciate you. We wish you the best in the future in the community supervision, the world. I think, like I said before, I have to say it again. I think this is a must. I think this is a major play in what's going on in today's world, especially it's technology driven. And I think it's time for us to break away from the old norms of the community supervision and step into the new norms and the way that the world is going through technology. So we appreciate your work. We appreciate everything that you do and everything that you have to offer. So again, thank you for coming on the show and being a guest.
You're welcome. And thank you for what you do, Cardell.
All right. But this is another episode of the Reentry Journey. Again, if you want to know more about TrackTech LLC, go to www.tracktechllc.com. If you want to implement some of the ideas that you may have in your head, hit the contact us section, and you know, they would like to hear from you. And so they can make this a bigger and better thing. We always looking for ways to improve. And right now, Track Tech and their program is the newest improved way for community supervision. To me, it's a must-have for all agency, probation, and parole around. It's a must-have. So thanks again, Michael. You have a great rest of your night, and hopefully maybe we can connect sometime.
I would be honored.
All right. Thank you.